Thursday, so I guess Wednesday actually. I was getting ready for work, normal day. I was gonna make lunch for work. I was making a peanut butter and jelly sandwich. It's gonna be good, you know. You can never go wrong, except for this time, because apparently my brand new jar of jam, totally full glass jar, decided to take a dive, and so just randomly, freakishly, literally, I cannot explain why or how it happened. I like stuck the butter knife into it, and then it just flew straight at me, and then went straight down off the counter, landed right onto my big toenail, and also two other toes that got bruising across them. I was swearing for a solid 3 minutes straight. It was rough, and it was in just so much pain for like 2 hours. And then even after taking painkillers, I could still feel it throbbing without the just with the dull pain. I could still feel the pulsating.
Yeah.
Ugh. So it's doing okay. It's doing okay now. It's purple under the nail, and the nail definitely looks cracked on the surface. But
so
yeah.
Did
So
the big toe did the big toe soften the blow? The jar didn't break, did it?
That was my number one fear. Like, as time slowed down, watching it go down, like, in my vision, I shit you not, like, got like white around the edges as I was super focused on it. It did not break. Thankfully, it hit my toe and then it bounced across the kitchen and slid.
Wow.
Yeah, it just,
That's
man.
pretty. I mean, that's hell for your toes. But if it broke and you got glass, like, oh my
glass
god.
and jam and man.
Well, the jam can be
And
like
it
dog.
landed on my toe. Oh my god.
Yeah, that's. Oh, I'm just imagining it as you've detailed it, and I mean, it's one thing when you stub your toe, but when you have something, especially like I don't know, like a jar jam, just direct impact on your toe, just full force. Yeah, it's
yeah. Ugh.
makes me yeah.
It was rough.
So I hope your big toe and your other toes, I don't want to remiss them, have a fast recovery. Um, I'm imagining they have like little poor bandages on it with sad faces.
Thankfully, it doesn't seem to be broken, so that's
That's
something.
good. That's good. Oh my god, I don't even want to imagine like trying to walk around. And you said you got a doctor's note for it?
I did, yes. Yeah. We have this benefit through work where I can pay $10 and get a phone call with a doctor. So I described the situation to them, and then asked if I could, because I didn't feel comfortable being on my foot all day for 9 hours straight. You know, doing
Yeah, I think you made the right call for yourself.
Yeah. So I asked if I could get a note to excuse me, and they provided. So that was good.
Awesome.
But yeah. All right. Welcome to the All Things Geek podcast. My name is Tyler, also known as Batman Caped Crusader, and I'm joined, as you can see, only this time by the man whose name starts with an A.
It's Hayden, and I'm sorry you're just stuck with me. So
no, it's fine. It's just it was weird circumstances because Lay didn't want to be on. Braden had a bunch of plans today, so he couldn't be on.
Yeah, he didn't.
He could have been on. He's just like, no, I don't go anything to talk about.
They don't want to support us. It's all right. I get it.
Yeah, he's a hater.
Yeah.
And Braden, he's got crazy plans today because he's got a family member in town, and then Thatch is working, so he wouldn't have been available till later. But my birthday was this week, so we're doing my birthday dinner tonight, so I can't record later, so here we are. Plus, if we recorded later, then Aiden wouldn't have been on, and there's some big stuff this week that Aiden and I want to talk about. So here we are.
I think
two of us.
I think our topics this week can be pretty welled out by just Ty and I here. So let's see how it goes.
Should make for some very interesting discussion. I've been very excited to talk about these certain things.
Same.
But
so let's
let's run through some bullshit first. JJK Chapter 265 came out last week, but I wasn't on that episode, so I didn't get to talk about it. We picked up with Yuji's taking Sukuna through like his hometown, a vision of his hometown, going through all his memories, trying to teach Sukuna like the value of human life and trying to show him some compassion. And by the end of it, they they catch some crawfish, they do some archery, Yuji's like, oh, that's one kind of flower, and Sukuna's like, no, idiot, that's a different kind of flower. And he's like, why do you know that? And he's like, shut up. So it was fun. It was very cute. It was very wholesome. And then it ends with Sukuna's sort of like yelling at him like, oh, this is pointless. I don't care about humans. Blah blah blah. And then he's like, wait a minute. Were you trying to show me compassion? And then Yuji like stone cold stares, just like, yeah, I can kill you at any moment. So just give up. And then Sukuna, as you can see by the image I sent in the chat, he goes feral. He's like, oh, fuck you, this kid fucking... So I think he's actually intimidated, but he's like, fuck this kid, I am pissed. So
Ty, I'm imagining that's your face when you got the jar on your toe.
Yeah, pretty much. That was not far off. Yeah, so it's very exciting. It's really a lot of fun to learn more about Yuji as a character and his backstory growing up. It was cute to see like the main horrible monstrous villain and the main wholesome character just fish and like do archery and all these cute little things. It was fun. Yeah, it was a good time. We are on break this week, so next week we should have another chapter. So I'm excited for more. I'm looking forward to however the heck it goes down. But all right, moving on from there. SH Figure Arts, Luffy got an accessory set. I know this is a big deal for Braden. I don't have a lot to say about it because I don't even own a single Luffy at the moment. But it looks like he's got some stretchy arm effects. He's got the stretchy leg effect. We don't know the exact contents, but then he's got this one effect that is it's, if you look in the picture, it's like a ton of stretching arms coming around him as he's like doing like a flurry of punches.
That one actually
that looks pretty cool.
That interests me the most, actually.
Mm-hmm. Yeah,
because it's him with his whamming a bunch of fists at once. That's kind of cool. That'll be good for photography reasons.
Yeah, absolutely. So that's cool. Hopefully it comes with a face or something. But Braden recorded his thoughts, so here's that.
Hey boys, Renzolian or Braden here, and I'm just about to head off to the beach, so I'm sorry I couldn't be on this week's episode, but I do have a couple quick thoughts about the SHF Luffy accessory pack, because I figured Ty won't have too much to say about it. It looks great. I'm really happy Luffy's finally getting an accessory set. I hope it's more than just what we see. I hope we get a couple more accessories. I'm not really sure what else you could include, but maybe an extra face or something specific. But I don't know, throw a couple extra goodies in there for the fans, like maybe an alternate hairpiece or something. I don't know, do something cool. We're not going to get elephant or hockey effects because Luffy doesn't really get hockey till post-time skip. I'm sure they're going to do that later. But it looks great. I'm really excited. The Gum Gum Gatling in particular looks awesome. I'm very glad we're getting that effect too, because that's a very desired effect. It's a little weird seeing it in 3D, but it is still awesome. So yeah, I'm a big fan of that set. I'm definitely looking to get it. We don't have any information about it yet, but hopefully we find out very soon. So yeah, thanks guys. Enjoy your time recording.
And we're back. All right.
Thank God it's over.
Insightful thoughts, Braden. Good job.
Yeah. I didn't fall asleep.
Yeah. Super not boring. All right. The Sonic Movie 3 got action figures, and I have strong opinions about this.
Ooh.
So these are 5-inch figures. Unlike the Sonic Movie 2 figures, which were 4-inch. They have the Mario movie moving eyes gimmick, where it's like a clear acrylic with like an eye beneath it, and you turn it, and it's like, ooh.
It follows you around.
Yeah. They have a ridiculous ass amount of articulation. Butterfly joints, waist swivels, thigh swivels, ankle joints, freaking finger hinges. Um,
They got it all.
ridiculous. Yeah, they got bicep swivels as well as butterfly joints and shoulder articulation and elbows and wrists and wrist hinges. It's loaded with articulation. Ridiculous. But here's the problem. I already got the 4-inch figures. And they were like pretty much perfectly scaled as far as I was concerned. And these are bigger. And so I'm never going to get a 4-inch movie Shadow. What the fuck?
Yes.
Oh, that's so freaking stupid. Man.
Do you think they went up? Do you think they went up in scale just to have the more articulation for them?
I think so. I think also because they did it with the Mario figures and the Sonic Prime figures. They made it at the 5-inch scale.
Yeah, especially with the eyes. That seems like it's very much following those figures.
Mm-hmm. So yeah, they look good, but I'm a little grumpy about it. To be honest with you. The first wave is supposed to be Sonic, Shadow, Tails, and Eggman. Eggman not depicted because pictures of him haven't come out yet, but he's probably not very good.
I said they haven't even made an Eggman figure prior, right?
They made a 4-inch one, but he was 4 inches tall, so he was like the same size as the rest of the characters. So this one's probably going to be 5 inches tall.
Maybe the 5-inch will look a little bit better with the 4-inch ones. Maybe.
But I mean, I've got my custom Marvel Legends Eggman, so I don't need that shit.
Yeah, I feel like you don't have to worry about it. I need to know what this Eggman figure looks like. I'm very
seen
curious.
Pictures come out of him yet?
What, the 4-inch one?
The 4-inch one, there are pictures.
I don't like to see it.
The 5-inch one, yeah, I haven't
yeah.
seen pictures.
I've never seen this guy yet, so I kind of want him. I might get the 5-inch
one. But okay, so I mean, unless you have any thoughts on those, which I doubt you do.
You know what? I'm actually interested in getting a Shadow figure. I'm not gonna lie to you.
It's fair.
Especially, I didn't know these guys were 5-inch, so I might just get Shadow just to put him in a video sometime. Yeah, so I don't know. I might have to sometimes.
All right. And then there was a little bit more figure news, not a lot this week, but I'm gonna kind of need you to explain some of this to me. We got the Spider-Verse Wave 2.
Yes. So
run me through this.
All right, so they just dropped this wave just like randomly on a morning. I think what was it? Yeah, just random morning. Yeah, I got very mixed and strong thoughts taken from Ty to say it. I'm not a big fan of this wave. I think it's kind of poop. But to give you a rundown, Ty, I'm sure you're familiar with. You've seen Into the Spider-Verse, but you haven't seen Across the Spider-Verse, correct? Yeah. Okay. So they have 2 figures from this wave that are from Into, which is the Peter Parker, the blonde one. It's Chris Pine, Peter Parker, as I think of it. He's my favorite figure of the whole wave. I pre-order him. He looks great. It took him years to finally get like a fully suited Spider-Man, where we went from like the jacket to the sweatpants, and now we have the full costume. Yeah, I just wish he came with
butterfly joints.
That is the only thing I think he's lacking, because they just literally took the same upper torso from the sweatpants. I call him Sweatpants Spidey. He's great, but and we also have the full costume for Miles from the end of the first movie, which proportion-wise looks pretty off. I still like him having the hoodie. I don't really care for this Miles figure. It doesn't look that great.
Such a skinny tube body, and then he
they like reused the same. Yeah, they reused the same Miles head, it looks like, and the same masked head that we got from another one, and it's got the tube head, which I don't recall any other Marvel Legends figure as of recent that has the same. Like, it's usually just having a dumbbell or the ball
Mm-hmm.
joint, or the disc. So I'm surprised that they still went with this and not just redesign it in some way. But the rest of the figures are all belonging to Across the Spider-Verse. So I guess who's the easiest character to break down? All right, so 2099, he is perhaps the worst figure of the entire wave. Jay Herrans. He has like a decent head sculpt, but the skin color is way off. So I think in the comics, and I'm sure it's depicting the same in the movie. I think Miguel is Latino and also Irish, I want to say. I think it was. It sounds off, but I remember in the comics that's what it was for the most part. I may be corrected on that. But he's not pale like that. He looks like actual Dracula vampire. Yeah. And they just... I was so excited for the initial release that we got from the first wave, but they did not change anything about this mold. The figure just lacked a lot of like any decent articulation. It desperately needed a diaphragm joint, butterfly joints, and they just did nothing aside from get rid of the web cape and then darken the color of the blue in the suit, which was not needed whatsoever. I know they gave him the watch, but I don't really care. He just looks awful. So bad. So bad. And then we have Spider-Man India, who looks decent. He looks all right. He's in the middle. I like his costume design. His unmasked head sculpt looks a little goofy. I wish I can't stand that way. These Spider-Verse figures have such a hard time coming with good hands. Because I like the one he has when he's spinning his wrist gauntlet around, but he doesn't come with any whippers. You get like, big smacking hand. It looks like he's about to bitch slap somebody, or wave hand. I know it allows from good expression, but yeah, he's a pretty not like hugely important character, but he's a fun character like in the mid part of the movie. But yeah, he's got like entirely new sculpt. He's okay. I'm not really getting him. I wasn't obsessed, or I don't really have like a emotional attachment to that character. I'll go over Spider-Gwen next. Gwen, she is basically the same as what we got before, just for whatever reason, it's an odd choice, and I'll be going into what I'll say about the next figure, but they changed the color of her hair. I get it in certain frames, especially when they're conveying like different parts of emotion, especially in Gwen's world, colors change rapidly throughout parts in the movie. It's kind of cool. It's like done through watercolor, but it does not translate well, I think, into figure form here. They literally just changed her hair color, which looks stupid, and then they gave a little bit of a different color on her forearms. The only thing I do like about it is the new mask head that she has. It's got more widened eyes, and that's why I prefer, because they made it more squinty on the previous version. I have that one, and I'm just completely fine with it. If I got this one for cheap, but it comes with Lila, who's I believe 2099's AI girlfriend, and I don't know why she comes with Gwen. Aside from maybe there's a scene in the beginning of the movie where Lila's like around with 2099 and Spider-Gwen, so maybe that they kind of have like a friendship, so to speak. I guess, but I feel like that would have made more sense to have Lila with Miguel. I don't know. I just think that's an odd choice, but
really, it's because nobody's gonna want to buy this Gwen.
So yeah, I can see people doing some weird stuff with that little Lila figure for figure posting. I'm sorry, it's just the truth. All right.
Okay, then.
Next we have Hobie Brown, and he finally comes with not one but two unmasked head sculpts, both the same expression, different colors. So Hobie throughout the film, as a art style from his dimension, he's inconsistent because Hobie's like a known rebel, so he's not like looking the same color scheme as we saw in the previous variation of his figure. But I feel like they chose the worst one, like pink. It just doesn't translate well. I feel like there could have been maybe a hodgepodge of different paint apps they could have done instead of just like this low like pink purplish mix. And I think it's funny how they just included the normal Hobie head, because it's like, hey, we forgot to put that with the previous figure. We'll put it in here now. And I'll make this point because I think Thatch would mention if he was here. And it's a good point. They could have included another thwip hand. He only has one, and now he's always stuck with the pick hand. I can't have my Spider-Man, using a pick for thwipping all the time, right? great for the guitar poses, but he should have came with two. That bothers me. I think Gwen has the same issue where she only comes, I think, with one whip hand. I'm like, why? Like, it's a needed necessity for a Spider-Man figure. But Hobie's, I'm not getting Hobie. I don't really need the head sculpt. I know people are making like a bunch of terrible customs of it. So, and our last figure, who's like at a figure standpoint, looks fun. Design's kind of cool. I don't plan on getting it, but it's Miles G. Morales. This is an alternate universe of Miles. We see towards the end of the film, evil version, or it's kind of like, well, what if Spider-Man didn't exist in his dimension? He was supposed to get bitten by a spider. Prowler Miles, yes. It looks like fun. I'm not huge on the design personally, but he looks like a decent looking figure. It's I don't have much else to say about it, to be honest. So
it's got that swivel and the ab crunch. It's just For some reason, they do not want to innovate on these cartoon figures.
No, and I feel like they could, but they make such weird choices because it's like, I don't know. They have the opportunity with. I'm looking at pictures, but like they have an opportunity with parts of the articulation, but also because they're also trying to work with the proportions, the odd proportions that sometimes these characters have that they don't translate well to figure form. They come out kind of wonky. So I don't know, but yeah, overall, the Spider-Verse wave is. You have any thoughts about it, Ty? Got a favorite here?
A favorite? That's a stretch.
Is there anything that's good for maybe like custom fodder at all?
Gwen's hairpiece, I think.
Yeah. Okay.
Just the hairpiece. Because I have a D&D character who has pink hair that's off to one side like that. That's really long.
Okay.
So I mean that could maybe use that, but otherwise no. It's everybody looks weird. I would maybe be interested in Spider-Man, but he has no butterfly joints, and
yeah, I mean he's got
butterfly joint is just criminal.
He's got a boot swivel. I think he's just gonna be fun to mess with. Like it's not a figure I can take seriously. Like I have to keep in like good condition, like a Toby, or like a '90s animated series.
Spider-Man,
yeah. I think that's why I'm really excited about it. So, but yeah,
I mean, almost all the heads like unmasked heads look kind of goofy. I think Gwen's face and Peter's face look okay, but this is kind of strange.
Gwen's face kind of looked funny from the previous wave, so I can't tell right now if it's looking any better print wise. But I really think this wave could have been excellent. I think they really just kind of shit the bed on it. I think this is. It's been a pretty great year for Marvel Legends, but I think we were due for a little bit of a
stinker.
Mishap. So
this just seems like a reason, like a cheap excuse to pump out some easy reuse. That's what it is.
Yeah, and that's what it feels like. Most of it, half of it is. So yeah, I mean, for me, it's saving a couple of dollars in my pocket where I don't have to worry about getting these figures because they don't.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah. I'm a bit bummed about the Hobie because I feel like they could have done, like I said, a different look, shade for him or anything.
Something more interesting,
Yeah, I think that's why I can say the whole way. It could have been way more interesting. So.
Yeah. Well, it is what it is, I suppose. Peg warmers for sure.
Oh yeah, that's for sure.
But all right, let's move on along. Now that we've handled that, we got one more figure to talk about. You got him right next to you.
I do, yes. So we're gonna get into it shortly, but as of last week, the latest and newest Batman animated TV show, Batman Caped Crusader, just came out, and I watched it. I enjoyed it quite a bit, so much to the point I was like, you know what? I've been looking at this McFarlane figure. I'm going to get him because I like first appearance Batman with his weird purple gloves and iconic blue wrench.
Big old ears.
Big old ears. And I was most fascinated about getting this figure because he has a wired cape, and that's the first time I ever had a figure with a wired cape. Yeah. And the cape's pretty cool. I think he's the best part about the figure. Got some complaints though.
Okay.
I don't know if this is a standard thing with sometimes with McFarlane figures, but I noticed that and it's gonna be maybe a little bit easier to tell when I lift up his neck, there's a big ass hole. Look how ugly that looks. You could see the
Yeah.
ball and then pop. So I had to shave it down actually too. So I actually cannot have it stick out so much. But I will provide a photo as well. But look how off that
What
looks.
the hell?
Great head sculpt. Like,
Yeah.
the top looks tremendous, but the bottom is all fucked up.
Yeah. Yikes.
Don't know why that is. I was kind of bummed about it. Because otherwise, the figure is really fun, cool.
Mhm.
The cape really makes it for me. I wish all action figures came with a fabric wired cape, especially this figure only costs like $20. So like $23 I paid for him. But I like them. I'm not huge on DC Multiverse figures, but like this is my third Batman figure I have. I have the Flash Michael Keaton figure, and then the Nightfall blue and gray Batman. It's like my ideal Batman. But this is cool, not perfect. But I hope that like we get more fabricate Batmans and like other looks and variations. I think they really need to redo Pattinson's Batman because that was the worst thing I've ever
Yeah,
had to
that
see in my
was-
life.
Yeah.
So I see they're making McFarlane sometimes makes a few steps forward and a few steps back. I also really sometimes I can't stand how the joints look because they look ugly, and it's like the ratchet. It's like it does not look good at times, but
Yeah.
I like the figure. I don't love it. This is not top 10 material, but I'm glad I got it. I think it's just going to be a cool collection piece. Like I said, if it didn't have the fabric cape, I think I would have really think less of this figure. Be honest with you.
Yeah.
So
I mean, yeah, it just had a plastic board on the back.
yeah, or even like I like Kean, and it makes sense because he has to fit in his Batmobile, so it's just like flooping down. But I mean, it gives a whole another avenue of ways of posing him because you can just have him hold the cape or sit in front and have it drape around in front of his chest. I mean, there's so many different or blowing in the wind. I love all the options of that. So I'm like, man, why can't Marvel Legends do this? So, because I would love it with my Doctor Strange or Thor. So, but yeah.
All right.
I'll say I don't really recommend them. I'll just say that.
Yeah, that's fair.
Yeah, I think that's my final consensus.
All right. Well, speaking of mixed bags, let's talk about this Batman show, which I found to be a mixed bag. But why don't you go first?
Yeah. So, Ty, I know that you're definitely a more passionate Batman fan than I am. Like
Probably
everyone
in certain ways, yeah.
I think. I mean, I'm someone that, as a Batman fan, I am more akin to like old school, Golden Age, Silver Age Batman. I'm not so much in love with a lot of more recent or modern takes on the character. Especially like with some stuff with the Bat family, I feel like that's just overcrowded, and sometimes I don't care for a lot of those characters. But I know you're very passionate about how the character's done in certain ways. I I don't know what to expect from this show prior to watching, aside from like, oh man, I grew up watching Batman Brave and the Bold. I didn't really grow up watching animated series, but like I've seen a Batman animated show was like, all right, you're catching my interest already. Especially that it was a very different take. Obviously the show was heavily neo-noir inspired, and I know they had with Bruce Timm being executive producer on the show, was given the option saying, hey, we want to see more Batman animated series. And he's like, no, I actually want to do something different. Instead of doing more of the same, which I think is as a creative choice, excellent. But this show, as I thought about it, and Ty and I were trying to get a little bit into it last night, I've enjoyed for the most part. I really don't have, and I think maybe we'll unfold more of that as we talk about it. I'm really interested in hearing your opinion because I try to look for the positive much stuff, so sometimes it's not the greatest consensus on it. But I'll say that general thoughts, I really like the show is a different take on Batman in terms of how I didn't feel like he was the focus, but at times he was also in the background for storytelling purposes of allowing supporting characters and the villains to have screen time. I also love the choice of villains where they're more obscure, like the likes of Gentleman Ghost, who's a character I've always loved,
Mm-hmm.
or Onomatopoeia, the original Clayface, which I thought was an amazing choice. I think that may be my
Mm-hmm.
favorite episode of the whole season
It's
because
very
it's
good,
like a
yeah.
Universal Monsters homage. And I love that the series, and I'm a big fan of a lot of like noir old films like that from the 30s and 40s, and also into the 50s. And a lot of the show feels and looks inspired by that.
Mm-hmm.
And I love that it's planted throughout. And that's where I think sometimes I understand where people are saying it's a bit slow or it's a bit dull at times because of that. Really curious about a couple things I want to ask you, Ty, like how the take on Harley Quinn in this show, because I thought it was
Mm.
fascinating, definitely to say the least. So that's what I'll start with right now. I want to hear what you have to say.
So just initial thoughts. I did enjoy my time with the show.
And you
I
binged it,
think
right?
I did. Yes, I watched it all in
Okay.
one sitting. I think if you are a casual Batman fan, or if you don't have strong opinions on Batman and how characters are portrayed and like so on and so forth, Batman's relationships, then this is going to be a good show for you. If you just like Batman and you're just looking for a good Batman experience because it's been a while, it's a very good show, very good option for you. However, I think if you do have strong opinions on how characters are portrayed and Batman's relationships and sort of the fundamentals, then you are probably going to have issues with this show. And I've seen a lot of people have issues, and I want to point this out. This is one point on my list, but I've seen a lot of people point this out. Like they say this show doesn't understand Batman, specifically because Bruce addresses Alfred by Pennyworth until the finale. For a long time early in the comics, Alfred was not Bruce's father figure. He was just an employee.
Right.
It wasn't until they started really getting deeper into the character that he became his father
Right.
figure.
I
Um,
I thought throughout the season that was like part of Bruce's arc,
mhm.
kind of like
Yeah, they did turn it
overarching.
into that.
Yeah,
Um,
and I like that. I personally caught that early on because I'm like, oh shit, he's not even calling him Alfred. Like
mhm.
you notice that if you're like a Batman fan, like
Yeah,
that's
it's
off
just,
putting.
it's like huh?
Yeah, yeah, like Pennyworth. Like, but I love the moment when he does say he stops himself and says
Mm-hmm.
Alfred. And I'm like, that's awesome. And I think I love one of the aspects I love about. I don't mean to interrupt. I just say with Bruce Wayne, how
Mm-hmm.
he's being himself in public, and then as soon as he meets up with Alfred, completely different person.
Mm-hmm.
But
He's
that's
almost
like,
robotic in public. Like
yes,
the very first episode when he's like, "Well, I guess it's not a party until someone goes overboard or whatever," and
you
then
know,
turns around it takes two steps. He's like, "I guess it's not
does
a
the
party until
same
someone goes
thing.
overboard."
Yeah, yeah. Well, and I think what stuck out to me was in the Harley episode, or what? No, it's the one where he was visiting Harley.
Mm-hmm. There's a few episodes
I,
prior.
yeah, I think it was the Catwoman episode, wasn't it?
Mm-hmm.
I think it was. But I love that,
When
like,
he's
just
going to
transition.
therapy for sucking
Yeah,
a guy for bad mouthing his mom.
but he's not as like he's so uptight when he's around
Mm-hmm.
like Alfred. Like he's just so perturbed by everything else and just wants to focus on his mission
Mm-hmm.
and what he has to do, like to honor his parents. Um, I really like that aspect because it's not
Mm-hmm.
I rewatched an episode of the animated series after viewing this, and I see like with Kevin Conroy's performance is unmatched, but like how his Bruce Wayne was more charismatic, but I feel like he was more open because he's been Batman for we don't
Mm-hmm.
know however long, but some
Yeah, this is
time.
supposedly.
I think it's like
I think
first few weeks.
it's week 2.
Yeah, week two, which God, we're like getting it's like year one, week two, like day
Mm-hmm.
one, like you
Yeah,
know.
which for a
Um
week 2 Batman, way too good at being Batman.
Yeah.
Plus,
I
he's got
mean,
the
I love that he's
Batmobile and
sloppy
the grappling
at
hook.
times. Yeah, I do like he's a definitely. I love the potential of growth for his character, and like we were just talking about with Pennyworth. He's sloppy when it comes to some of his technique, but yeah, at times I think he is a bit too good, you
Yeah,
know.
he's
But he's
ruthlessly efficient sometimes.
yes. But
Yeah, it's interesting. I think Batman is very well portrayed. I think Bruce is very well portrayed. He's sort of in public. He's sort of like chill, laid back. Kind of like
he's still
casual.
yeah,
Nothing bothers me. But
he's not like we saw in the Batman where he's not really a public figure at all.
He's
In this he
more of
is.
a public figure in this. Yes, for
He
sure.
is. And I like that because I feel like that lies with a lot of balance between like I said, Bruce Wayne and Batman, you know?
Mm-hmm.
But he also seemed like he really cares what's going on in Gotham as Bruce Wayne, but also wants to get back to his work as Batman, you know? Or how he
Yeah.
can do better.
I want to say I got two more positives to hit on. I think the soundtrack is very good, but it's not memorable. It's no like animated series
Yeah.
intro or anything like that. I couldn't even remember a single song at the moment, but it was good.
I just remember
In the
I remember
moment,
the opening. I just remember the opening
what?
theme.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
In the moment, it worked. It served its purpose very well. And then
Yeah.
I think Catwoman and Alfred are both very, very strong, very good, well written portrayals of the characters. I was very pleased with how they were handled. Minus one thing with Catwoman, that was a little goofy.
Yeah.
I'll say right now. There's
You're talking about the handcuff to the table?
Yeah, the handcuff. There are some things that just get glossed over. I'll talk about some more examples later, but
I feel like that was a good example of Batman being a little bit sloppy starting out. You know,
that was goofy because he cuffs her to just a table leg. It's just a table leg sitting on the ground. Just
yeah. I feel like that was something out of like I feel like it was out of the '50s comics. You know, I just kind of laughed at it. And I'm like, whatever. You know, I'll let it pass.
I was just like, what the hell is that? What? Batman? Come on now. That was silly. But and also I think just Catwoman is my ideal love interest for Batman. I don't really care for anybody else in that role, Talia or fucking, especially God, not Barbara Gordon, because Bruce Timm loves that shit.
Well, it's good that this show. That's something I liked about it. They're not stepping into that whatsoever.
Except here's the thing: they're setting up a slippery slope because Jim Gordon is not Batman's partner in his traditional role. Barbara's filling the traditional partner role, so I think they are setting up for that.
I don't know.
They're building that relationship.
They can be partners, but not partners.
Oh man!
All right.
Yeah,
I know.
Have you seen the Killing Joke movie?
Yeah. Well, I was just thinking about it. We were watching this. I'm like, you better keep in his fucking pants. So. Oh God, Jesus, that's terrible.
The Barbara Gordon rather than Jim Gordon being his main partner thing is also a thing. I was like, well, I mean, I don't prefer that. It's weird because she's not a cop. She's just a lawyer. So why is she his primary point of contact?
Right.
Doesn't
and I feel like
sense to me.
Batman does kind of hop around for who he wants to be a primary contact, and I don't feel like
he talks
Barbara
to like Montoya.
She doesn't have enough interaction with Batman to, I think, fully justify it. Yeah. She's like, here's my number.
Other than being Daddy's girl, she doesn't have any authority in the precinct.
Right. I think the only way I see how that's worked is just because Batman's trying to get... Barbara and Batman have like a similar way of trying to get these things. Well, not that. Similar way of trying to protect, like I was just thinking with the Two-Face finale.
Yes,
they were just both trying as much as possible. I think it kind of worked in that regard.
I guess it could be her like ideals or whatever. You could write that off.
Yeah.
But it's not made clear.
Yeah. Honestly, and as like we're just talking about it now, a thought just like occurred to me. So the show's been renewed for season 2.
Didn't know that.
Yeah, I think it was like end of last week or something like that, middle of this week. But I'm like, this show, it's still I think it needs a bit more time to find its footing because I don't think it quite has yet. I think it's almost there, and that's where I'm like, this show has potential, so I kind of put it in the decent category right now.
Mm-hmm.
But at the same time, I'm like, I don't know. Will it find its footing? Because I feel like it wants to be several different things. But we can.
Yes.
I want to hear about your.
Okay, I have a big issue I'm going to save for the end of it, but the rest of these are going to be kind of nitpicky.
Okay.
So, like I said, supposedly it's Batman Week 2. He's too good at being Batman. He's got the grapple. He's got the Batmobile.
He's got the Batarang already.
Already a rumor around Gotham. Batman teaming up with Barbara and not Jim Gordon, which is a slippery slope, I think. There are things that are glossed over that can lead to plot holes, like Catwoman being cuffed to a table leg, Batman falling off a cliff in a sealed cell with no reason for his escape.
Yeah,
the next scene, he's just swinging by and catches Barbara. Like, what the hell? How is that even possible?
Honestly, it's like that's animated shows for you. But yeah, it's also.
Well, I feel like the animated series would have at least shown you how he got out, because they
It's
make
true,
a big
and
point that
I don't-
glass is like so hard to break.
Going back to like Batman is not that good at being Batman yet.
Mhm.
Like he can't get out of a situation that quick. He barely made out of that mansion, anyway. So
And then characters will randomly appear or disappear from episodes after having entire scenes or lore dedicated to them. Like Penguin's son, once there's that scene in Gordon's office. As soon as they leave the office, he's gone from the episode. He never appears again. There's the woman in that same episode cuffed to Bullock's desk. You get this whole scene dedicated to Barbara trying to save her. Gone from the episode after that. We'd have no resolution. The librarian that had like all this context established about her in the Gentleman Ghost episode when Bruce is trying to look up information. She's like talking about her history with Bruce. Gone from the episode. Lucius Fox is referenced once before his appearance in the Gentleman Ghost episode, and then after he's doing the house tour and the ghost appears, gone from the episode. And then Barbara's angry client that comes out of nowhere and has a hit put on her, as well as the same cop in that episode that tries to kill her.
Oh, you know what? I did find that kind of weird. Like, why did she get a hit? I mean, I don't know, the whole idea of the hit seemed kind of like I love seeing onomatopoeia because he's just a guy that's like bang, boom, I like him, but I feel like he's just a hired gun, and he's got like this whole goon squad. But like Barbara being the hit, I'm like, why? I feel like that could have been tied back to like Thorn, I feel like they could have done something with anything else with that. And I do agree because I'm like, oh my god, Gentleman Ghost episode had like a majority of the characters just like blip off screen. So I like the episode, and they mention about the hell's his name, the voodoo doctor guy. He's an interesting character in the comics, so more of a newer one.
And when he shows up at the end, he's actually wearing the classic Gentleman Ghost outfit.
Yeah. That's always like, but he looks like that in the comics too. And I kind of like freaked out. I'm like, can we just get Gentleman Ghost out and have him wear? Because I remember seeing them Brave and the Bold, and I'm like, oh, love it. That episode was kind of wild too because I'm like, is this show ever gonna go real supernatural? And they did.
Ghost,
yeah, they did. So I was like, because the Clayface episode, I was like, oh, maybe they'll keep it more low key because they didn't do full original or like modern how we know big Clayface, big monster. So,
and then in that same episode with Barbara's angry client, there's that cop, the blonde-haired cop who appears in none of the rest of the season before that, but somehow suddenly he's like in the team. He's in this team of people who protect Gordon. Like, I mean, all right, he kind of came out of nowhere. He's an obvious suspect.
He should have been.
But So yeah, that was strange. And then my other issue, my last issue before my big one, is that Harvey was a douche all season. He's like real misogynistic and kind of creepy. And then we're supposed to feel bad for him by the finale, and they give no reason at any point why Bruce would be his friend at all.
Yeah.
Which is just like really weird. Comes out of nowhere that he takes him to like a dinner date. It's very strange.
I feel like their friendship's very like muddled. It's like, what is their friendship? You know, like how they're just friends because Harvey is a known, lawyer, or I don't know.
I didn't even get the vibe that they were friends in the carnival episode. I just figured that it was like,
it's like passing kind of, yeah. I feel like when you're like one of the voices of Gotham like that, for like a show figure, you're amongst that entourage, so to speak, but like trying to keep a clean name, and I feel like that was what Harvey was trying to be. Like the whole. I feel like that was trying to.
His face, and he's like, "You're gonna want to be on my good side."
I remember that being done better in the animated series. And maybe that's a complaint you can say about like, well, that was done better in the animated series. Obviously, there's a different take here, but I don't know. I feel like I do like the idea of Harvey being a tragedy of
and the
Gotham's crime
Batman
syndicate.
Telltale team does it very well. Where just from like you got the first season starts really establishing why and how Bruce and Harvey are friends. You go through and you start to see all the stress that builds on Harvey until eventually the attack happens. Then he snaps and then he becomes a villain. Then you have to deal with him.
That's what they should have done with the Hitman episode. I don't get it.
I don't either.
I mean, these are good points.
And then they kill him, so that like there's
and
nothing else you can do with that character.
I wish he didn't die entirely.
And
I don't know.
I think his death factors into my biggest issue with this show, which is that it's just too self-serious. They're like afraid to have any fun. Harvey's not allowed to be a quirky character. They turn Penguin into a MILF, but then they don't do anything fun with that. And then Harley has no personality in the company.
Yeah.
She has no character, no energy, no life. Which
I find it
one of her co-creators, Bruce Timm, you kind of drop the ball.
Well, it's a very
character you originated.
It's a very different take, and I didn't hate it, but I didn't entirely.
I liked her scenes out of the costume, but once she steps into the costume, she's got nothing.
Well, she was more charismatic out of the costume. And I feel like she had a little bit of that chipperness, but to completely shy away from it, I feel like does get rid of the DNA of what made the character the character. The costume looks phenomenal, but there's also like, and it's implied, more context to why Harley was that way and why she did that. I'm down the middle on it. I don't hate it, but I feel like we need another episode that focuses on her to explore that.
I think they just need to be unafraid to make her a fun villain.
Yeah.
Have fun with
I feel like
make her silly, make her weird, make her zany.
Yeah. We're gonna jump to
the same thing with the final scene, with the final
I was just about to say that.
Super deep voice, super serious. She doesn't even really laugh. I don't like that at all.
Yeah. Well, and I think that's what the series is trying to achieve, where it's trying to be more. Is melodramatic probably the right term to use for it?
Yeah, that's fair.
Maybe. I think it's appealing. At the same time, you got to lean a little bit more into being.
But like even John DiMaggio, when he played the Joker.
To him to play like a character that has no ounce of humor coming out is just unnatural.
Or Jack Nicholson's Joker, like they're still darker and more serious, but also goofy
Yeah,
and
Tim Burton
quirky.
had the perfect blend
Hmm.
of that. I was just talking with my dad about it because we were just saying that with like even Bruce Wayne, Michael Keaton's Bruce Wayne
He's
was
a
even
bit of
like,
a nut in that. Yeah.
yeah, but it's goofy, but it's like done
Hmm.
well. It's like goofy in a good way. Um, yeah, well,
Yeah. So if that's the Joker we're getting,
well,
0 out
it
of
looks
10.
directly inspired by what inspired the Joker in the first place, which
Yeah,
was
the
The
Man
Man
Who
Who
Laughs.
Laughs. So I'm intrigued, but you're right. I do agree with you. I feel like I said, going back to the shows, I think it still needs to find its footing, and I think you're right about how the show should not be shying away from it being not as serious.
Hmm.
Um, I enjoy it because for Batman, sometimes that's great, but when you have a world like Batman does and a cast of characters that some of them you really can't entirely take seriously, um, honestly, in some regards, it just felt like Batman and the Phantom of the Opera. Like, 'cause I like the third episode was probably my
Yeah.
favorite with Clayface. I felt like that was. I'm a huge sucker for the Universal Monster stuff. So watching that, I was kind of like, oh, I'm sold.
Hmm.
I was sold. I love the original Clayface,
Yeah, it was
but
a
like
great one.
the whole vibe of that was like, all right, this feels like what the show should be, but
Hmm.
also it should take episodes. Like I think that's where some regards the Gentleman Ghost episode may benefit is that it's taking different routes and
Hmm.
avenues that like, all right, we can go supernatural. So maybe do an episode where it can be a little bit
Yeah.
not
And
as
something
serious.
something I
And
really
that could be
liked about the
interesting for
Gentleman
this
Ghost
Batman
episode.
to yeah, to explore that, like,
Hmm.
part of him.
Something I liked about that Gentleman Ghost episode is Batman's like, oh, the Gentleman Ghost is like, oh, so you've heard of me, and he's like, well, I've heard of who you're pretending to be, and then it's an actual ghost. Like he doesn't know everything, and
Yeah.
he's proven wrong. There's a real ass ghost in this world.
Yep. That's
I like
cool.
that. That was fun.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah, I think the movie episode with Basil Karloff was a great one, and then immediately after, I think it was the Catwoman episode was my favorite, minus the ending, with how she gets arrested. But those two were standouts for me. I love those
Yes.
episodes.
Yeah, I watched those two and I was like, wow, I'm really sold on the
Mm-hmm.
show. Um, I do like the more serious tone at times. Just keen for
Mm-hmm.
Batman. I feel like, but
I think it's just for the
like,
wrong characters.
yeah, it is. It is. So yeah,
Yeah.
I still really enjoyed the show.
Mm-hmm.
But you made some very valid points, Ty. Especially when it comes to certain criticisms about it.
Mm-hmm.
And there's just some natural goofs you're gonna have, especially with animated shows. I feel like that's just a given. But
Yeah.
it's not like X-Men '97 where it's just like perfection throughout. Like I don't feel like there's any kind of silly thing or plot hole really. Um,
Also,
but
one weird note is they set up three kids: Dickie, Tim, or
yeah,
no,
so
Dickie, Jason, and Carrie.
dude, I saw Carrie. I was like, well, I saw Dickie, and I'm like, that's fucking Robin. I'm like,
Mm-hmm.
and then Carrie was like,
Interesting.
what the fuck? So that also got me excited because I'm like, oh my god, it'd be so cool just to see this Batman grow. But I love the last
Mm-hmm.
shot. That was probably one of my least favorite episodes. Was that one? Because I'm like, what the fuck's going on with the carnival? you know?
Yeah,
Um,
it was very strange.
I didn't
The
really. I feel like
vampire
that was my
girl.
least favorite villain choice. I don't
Yes.
even know who that
I don't.
character is,
Not a clue.
and they didn't really like dig more into it.
Mm-hmm.
Uh, but I liked seeing Carrie. I thought Carrie was great, and
Yeah, it was cool.
but
I would like to see if we do a season 2. I would like to see Dickie become Robin and Carrie become Batgirl, since Barbara's not going to be Batgirl probably.
that would be cool. That would be a
Mm-hmm.
very different take, and I feel like that's what the show does have opportunities to do.
Mm-hmm.
But in some regards, it's hesitant still.
Yeah,
And I feel like
like
it's
they make some big changes, but then they're afraid to go too far.
yeah,
But then they're also afraid to go too far into the classic, the characters that you know and love.
yeah. I think you were accurate with how if you sit on the show more and really nitpick and dig into certain parts, it can fall apart. But I think it's just like it's like open wounds, you know.
Mm-hmm.
and they can be healed up. And I feel like the show will. And that's what I mean. I think it'll find. I hope it finds its footing in a second season.
Mm-hmm.
I don't expect most animated shows don't find their footing in the first season unless they're like a revival or something else. So
I mean,
I'm willing to give
most
it more
importantly
time.
is just fix that Joker. You know, I think that's
Yeah,
most
well,
important.
don't make him so serious.
Mm-hmm.
That's what we just saw with Harley Quinn, right?
Yeah.
I like part of what they had going, but yeah, we need to see. I just want to see more of Harley. To be honest with you, but because I feel like there's potential there.
Mm-hmm.
But I feel like they didn't. Like I said, it's digging into things and then doing them in a way that's going to be enjoyable.
Yeah, I do think that
and unique.
this take on Harley is probably trying to leave the door open for her to become an anti-hero, considering she
Yeah, I don't
goes
like
back to
that.
try and save Barbara, which is obviously the current status quo of Harley is that she's a hero.
Yeah, I don't like it.
So if you're gonna make her an anti-hero, but you're gonna take away her personality, like
Yeah,
that's not a great direction. Like at least
no.
give her the energy, give her the
Like
zaniness, but whatever.
I do like her intentions are good, but they're also in kind of a
Mm-hmm.
malicious way, not entirely, but a little bit.
Yeah.
Yeah. That's kind of cool. But yeah, I think her demeanor really, if it was a little bit more peppy, like
Mm-hmm.
how she is as Harley Quinzel, that would have been better. So, but I just feel like that episode's like, all right, she's coming back for another one. We'll see her again. I'm like, all right, where's she
Yeah,
going?
for
Fucking Bloodhaven or something? I don't know.
Mm-hmm. But
Yeah.
yeah, I mean
Overall,
good show.
yeah, good show. You know what? I'm looking forward to season 2. Definitely. Very curious of what other villains beside the Joker they're going to tackle next.
Mm-hmm.
Are they going to dig more into obscure villains? Are we going to do if we get
See
Clock
Poison
King?
Ivy at some point. That'd be nice.
That'd be cool. How are they going to do that?
Condiment King.
Yeah. Are they going to do like wildly different takes on different villains going forward?
Mm-hmm.
You know, I'm curious.
Yeah.
But like I said, my biggest hope and wish is that the show will officially find its footing. I think it should.
Mm-hmm.
I hope it will. I hope it will. Get another 10 episodes, but I feel like the show was pretty well even paced throughout. I do
Mm-hmm.
like I said, everything done with for the most part with Bruce and Batman, very well done. The actor that voiced Batman, excellent. I feel
Mm-hmm.
like that was
Absolutely.
yes,
Sure.
more serious take, but he did the Bruce Wayne and Batman like shift in a
Mm-hmm.
unique way, especially for when it comes to animated. I didn't feel like it felt generic to me. So I feel like it very much fit the vibe for the show. I like the animation. It's kind of weird to get used to the character designs that are not like it's
Mm-hmm.
Bruce Timm working on this show, but they're not Bruce Timm entirely inspired. They're more detailed, I guess, for
Mm-hmm.
like how certain characters look with more expression. Um, so I kind of enjoyed that, but it took some time getting used to. Like it was so weird seeing Batman have like another line under
Mm-hmm.
his lip. You know, that
It
was
was
like
interesting.
that's weird. But
Sometimes Batman kind of looks like his crotch is kind of high up. He's very leg
yeah,
forward, which is
yeah.
fun looking.
What else?
It's
I
weird.
just I love like he's just like
Mm-hmm.
big,
And
big
then
man is
his
tights.
his shorts go to like his belly button.
Yeah, it's kind of
Mm-hmm.
cute. I don't know.
Yeah,
Um,
it's fun. I kind
but
of wish he
the
got purple
long
gloves. I'm gonna be honest with you.
I wish they would reference it at least.
Mm-hmm.
You know,
At least, yeah.
I
At least
there
for
was
like an
one
episode,
moment.
a Poison
Ah,
Ivy episode, he has to put on
yeah,
gardening
that'd be great.
gloves.
There was a moment in the season where I was like, he should have wore the purple gloves in that scene.
Mm-hmm.
Forgot what it was, but I'm like, could have easily done it.
Yeah, they should do that at some point.
So that'd be cool. Yeah, yeah. I
But
mean, I'm glad we got to talk about it. So
absolutely, good show.
yeah, we didn't get in like a knife fight or cut it.
Mm-hmm. No, I mean, I was very interested in hearing your opinion because, generally speaking, I don't nitpick things. I don't, I just enjoy
Yeah,
media.
right. And that's why I'll look at something, but I like that you point out certain things like I thought about, but I'm like, it didn't bother me so much, or not like it bothered you, but just like, hey, that stuck out to me. I want to mention this, and I'm like, oh, you know what? That's a good point. So I mean, that's all with parts of discussion, but yeah, I'm looking forward to hearing. Hopefully, we get to talk about season 2 sometime. So maybe about another year.
Yeah. Probably 2 years, honestly, depending on how long.
Yeah,
it takes.
probably.
All right, and so for most of you freaks and geeks, that'll probably be where you want to end the episode. I do want to have one more discussion with Aiden about something that I'm very passionate about, but that is for Epic by Jay Herrans. If you're interested, stick around, listen. If not, papa, ta-ta, goodbye, farewell.
Toodles.
But, Aiden, I extorted you and made you listen to Epic. What'd you think?
Yes. So, I failed my assignment because I didn't finish
You
it.
didn't finish it? God damn it.
I didn't, but I could still give maybe just a general consensus on it.
Okay.
So to give everyone else kind of context, and I think Ty kind of knows this, I'm not a big fan of when it comes to like musicals or plays at all. When I was in middle school, I was part of like theater club for a bit, but I was just like I was doing the light board, nothing crazy. But man, it drove me nuts being around the kids singing the same fucking songs for every Disney film coming out at the time. But I'm also at the same time extremely passionate about music. I love most things of music. I do for the most part. I usually stick to listening to classic rock. It's what my parents grew up listening to, very influential on me. But it's kind of bloomed out from where I just like love all these different things. Right, like yesterday morning, I was listening to French music from the 40s. I don't know why, but it was just the vibe of it. I was like, oh man, this sounds great. I was just feeling it. So, so when Ty messaged me and was just like, hey, you should listen to this, and he gave me a little bit of a blurb about it, I was like, okay. I said, well, because you're my friend, I'm gonna take it into consideration. I was forgetting about it for a bit, and then I went on a trip. We mentioned a couple weeks ago to Florida, and he was like, perfect time to listen to it. I'm like, yeah, I'm gonna listen to it as much as I can. So I downloaded everything Ty sent in order, but half of it didn't download. Like, it said it downloaded, and then I'm trying to listen to it. It stopped. Like, I was on a roll. I'm like, okay. And then I'm like, wait, this sounds out of order. And I looked, and I was like, shit, it is. It took me all the way to the end. So,
yikes.
I want to go through, I'm going to pull up in my end, the different sagas. I remember when I was telling you, Ty, the first song, The Horse and the Infant, was like, whoa. So it's funny because now I'm associating like when I was on the plane and how I felt when I was like when we took off and I was listening to this, I was kind of like, this is badass.
Yeah.
Overall, I really enjoyed it. It's sometimes I listen to this kind of musicals and it's not really necessarily a play or anything. It's just kind of like a digital or like a online sort of role. It's not role play, so to speak, but how would you put it? Because I have like an idea of how you could describe this, but it's not.
I would. I think he's described it as a musical pitch of sorts.
Okay. Yeah, because this seems like it could be a theater production kind of thing. I just by hearing it, because it's not, I'm just imagining of how it would be like if you're in a play watching it from the theater. And I love that when sound, right, it's so important, but how much it conveys for what you thought or you think and you feel from it. This definitely did. It was like firing off all cylinders.
And when you listen to Jay talk, every single instrument has a purpose, and if it comes back, it has a purpose there.
There were certain
the story cues through every aspect of the song, of the music.
There were certain cues that I recognized as I was listening throughout, and I was like, "Oh shit, we're coming back to this." But I would hear these kind of things. I'm like, "Well, that's cringe. I'm not listening to that again." But with the lyrics and the story that it was telling, I was like, "I'm actually enjoying this a little bit." Like I'm not like holy fuck, I just listened to the best thing I ever heard. But I'm like, okay, this is pretty cool, and especially
Mm-hmm.
like what it's going after with like the different sagas are split up with the Cyclops and Troy. The Cyclops one was really cool.
Mm-hmm.
I'm trying to figure out what was the other one I told you I really loved. I think it might have been Storm. That one was
Storm
fucking
is so good.
awesome.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, the Ocean Saga from that.
Did you finish the Ocean
Excellent.
Saga?
I don't think I did. I think I missed like the last two.
Okay, yeah, because the last song of the Ocean Saga, "Ruthlessness," is fucking brilliant.
Really?
That is Poseidon's song, and he is,
Oh.
oh my god, he's perfect.
And it's all kind of the whole story it's telling. Obviously, it's like around mythology.
It's the
Um,
Odyssey.
the Odyssey, right? So it took me a moment because you didn't tell me outright, and I was just curious because I'm like, oh, what's the story exactly about with this? But like
Mm-hmm.
from the beginning, I was like, oh, this is interesting take on all of this. Yeah, I love that. I feel like I never read the Odyssey personally, but I feel like if anyone wanted to get like Cliff Notes done in a musical way, I feel
Mm-hmm.
like this is what you this is what you can get from it.
Yeah,
Um,
for sure.
but for on a production standpoint, I it sounded just incredible. Like you said, every note you can tell there's purpose behind it. Every instrument, every lyric is powerful. You know, especially the performance, the
Mm-hmm.
vocals. I'm like, this is really well done. You know, when it comes to music, I always say that you know, women have such beautiful voices that they are real singers. But man, the performances in this or from the guys are just like
Mm-hmm.
astounding. They really have some chops, and I was just thoroughly impressed.
Yeah, there's a.
I would love to see if this was an actual theater play. I would go out and see it because I feel like it would be a spectacle. Definitely.
Yeah, the singers for Poseidon, for Zeus who comes later.
Yeah.
Zeus is you actually get a tease of Zeus. He's the deep booming voice in Horse and the Infant. Um,
Okay. Yes. Okay.
his song is great. It's the final song of the currently the last released saga. Uh,
Yes.
it made me buy a Zeus action figure because I want to do a music video to that song. Um, and then like Hermes is fantastic. Yeah, you gotta finish, and like the Underworld saga is it just
I
as you go it gets more intense and more just everything ratchets up and keeps building. It's so good.
I do have to go back and finish the rest of it because I feel like I have like incomplete thoughts here on the whole thing because it's like you know. But for where I'm standing right now, I don't unless you recommended anything else. I don't think I've obviously I would never have found this, but I don't think I ever would have really taken the time to
Mm-hmm.
listen to it. But it made like a flight that was kind of like just delayed enjoyable in a great way. So um, yeah, and I remember the first night when I played a few of them, I was like, oh shit.
Yeah,
So
it's really
yeah,
good.
yeah. Yeah,
But
it's really well done. It's not for everyone, you
mm-hmm.
know, but I know you were curious because of, like I said, what I love with music,
Mm-hmm.
and it's a very different corner of anyone who has passion for music. Because some people would say, "Ah, I like music," but they're talking about theater, specifically, or
Mm-hmm.
some other corner of it. So, um, yeah,
All
I
right.
appreciate your recommendation for it. I
Absolutely.
just had a thought actually, and
Mm-hmm.
I am so sorry to Thatch because he did ask me earlier to read a quote for him.
Yes. Yes.
And
Yes.
I should have read it when we were talking about the Spider Verse figures, but thank God I remembered before we were done recording. um, oh, actually, it was a Sonic figure
Yeah, I
section.
was about to
I
say.
was so we're going. Well, I was way behind, way behind. All right, so Thatch said, "Why the fuck does Sonic have fucking butterfly joints and fucking finger joints? How did this happen? I swear to God, if he can hit Spider-Man poses better than half the Hasbro Marvel Legends Spider-Man, I'm gonna go to Hasbro personally and force 6 of these shadow figures down Dwight, Dan, and Ryan's throats." Well said. Well put.
Mm-hmm.
Um,
Eloquently put. Couldn't have said it
I
better.
feel like you know what. I'm glad. I think that's a good note to leave
I
off
think
on.
so. I think that encapsulates the
Yeah.
show as a whole.
Yes.
Especially with, man,
I
just how much
laughed
of
when
a
I read
mess
it
that
out
Progress
loud.
Wave is.
Yeah.
But all right, that wraps up the show. Thank you, Aiden, so much for joining me. It's been a
Oh,
pleasure
thank
to
you,
have you. A
man.
pleasure to talk
It
with
was
you.
great talking.
Absolutely. We've been the All Things Geek podcast, and thank you, everybody, so much for watching. We'll catch you guys next week. Well,
Bye
bye-bye.
bye.